Bastion Rose, Austin Frink. Um, Congratulations on the album, even though it's been out about a year, whatever, year and a half.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool, cool. Now, you guys are from Indiana, right?
Yeah, Bloomington, Indiana.
Yeah, cool. So, how's the music scene there?
It's good. We have in Bloomington, Indiana, we have, I would say, one primary important historic venue that's called the Bluebird, which I would consider our home stage.
Uh-huh,
Played there many times. That's where we play for the home crowd, which
uh-huh.
when we play live, that's typically what we play for. We haven't done much traveling yet.
Right, right. You throw in any cover tunes?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're really big fans of a lot of different types of rock music, but generally we'll play like Jimi Hendrix and Black Sabbath. War Pigs is a favorite that we like to play. We've got a cool version of Voodoo Child that we play. Um, we throw in some Led Zeppelin, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Uh-huh. Cool, cool. Um, can you tell me about the other members of the band?
Yeah, sure. So there's five of us. The drummer's name is John Donlin, and he and I have been playing together for a couple of years now. He was actually the first one that I reached out to kind of start to jam with this Bastion Rose project. And Steve Pierce is the bass player, and he came second. And at first, it was just kind of a three piece, and we were jamming on some of these new licks and riffs and songs that I kind of put together, and it just kind of naturally kind of bloomed into what became Bastion Rose. But and then Barrett Abraham is the keyboard player, and he and I have been playing together a long time. He actually played bass in a previous band that we were in called Blue Rising, which we played together in Blue Rising for several years, and then Austin Mudd came a little bit later, and he's the second guitar player. He and I have been, best friends since we were 12 years old, and learned to play guitar together. And he was the lead guitar player of Blue Rising.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell me anything about your label, Epictronics?
Yeah, Epictronic. Yeah. They're based out of Italy. It's a small independent label. And we've had like a really positive experience partnering up with them to release Fade to Blue. Um, and it's really their network has helped to kind of get us press releases and interviews like this one and things like that it's hard to kind of get on your own as a totally independent artist.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
And how'd you hook up with them if they're from Italy?
Yeah, actually, it was our management company. We have a management company based out of UK and Italy, called Deadfall Management,
Uh-huh.
and just through their connections and kind of shopping around, that's where we landed. They helped kind of facilitate that partnership.
Cool, cool. Let's get to Fade to Blue.
Yeah,
We'll go down the tracks. We got four tracks here, an EP. Let's start off with Fade to Blue, the first track. Tell me a little bit about.
yeah, yeah. So Fade to Blue. You know, I've kind of spoken a bit on the internet and things about kind of what some of the emotional things I was going through when I wrote some of these songs. And Fade to Blue, I think was really the first one where I
Right,
knew that I wanted to get more serious about arranging for a band again. I had been doing a lot of stuff just on my own, just diving back into the instrument and just studying guitar basically
right,
for the sake of it, as opposed to always trying to write. But when Fade to Blue kind of started to materialize, it just felt right, and it felt like the beginning of something. And I use for many years I've used a loop pedal as sort of
right.
a writing tool, and I also will play live occasionally, do these live loop arrangements, and there's a few of those on the Bastion Rose YouTube channel that I made a few years ago. And Fade to Blue started that way. So you notice at the beginning, it's this kind of clean, soft intro, and it kind of builds on itself with these different guitar layers. And that's actually a pretty good representation of how it's actually done on the loop
Right.
pedal. And then ultimately, builds up into this, mid-tempo kind
Right.
of stomping, heavy buzz soaked thing. And the guitar tones I'm really proud of too on the whole EP. There's a lot of really cool kind of, I'd say, vintage kind of
Right.
fuzz guitar sounds using the
Right.
Stratocaster and the fuzz pedal. It's just that sounds really awesome.
Right. Yeah. And Fade to Blue, that's the video, right?
Yeah, that's the most recent video.
Yeah. I think that's why I actually contacted you,
Yeah,
because
cool.
I love the video.
Thank you.
It's very deep, emotional. I really enjoyed it. I had to listen to it a few times, and I, really got into it. And I love, the emotional part of it.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's people ask me, what are the lyrics kind of about, or what did I mean by the whole
Right.
thing? But and uh obviously with any songs, I think it's kind of up to the listener too to kind of get what you're bringing something
Right.
as a listener to the listening experience, and it'll mean something a little bit different to everybody. But for me, it was like it was kind of like paying homage to the time that I went through where I was very, very in a really depressed and dark place after my parents died, and I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, which I talked about in a couple other interviews and things, and it's in our bio, and thankfully I'm cancer free now. But that was all that happened within a very short time window, and it put me in a place that um I just kind of fell into a hole, and
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
that song it's kind of about that feeling. And
Right.
there's some optimism there too. It's about, some of the positive things that can come from going through those very dark experiences, because we all will go through them. It's like
Right.
it's inevitable that everybody living will experience really bad times.
Tell me a little bit about Halo Devil.
Halo Devil,
Yeah.
yeah. Halo Devil, it's kind of plays with an idea that, of course, it's the same kind of, fuzz-soaked
Right.
guitars and the heavy parts and the clean. I like to play with the clean guitars, and then the heavy guitars kind of,
Right.
have a lot of dynamics. That's always been really interesting. But with the topic, and there's actually a YouTube video now for all the songs on the EP, so you can see them all on the YouTube channel. But Halo Devil kind of plays with this idea that I've always been kind of fascinated by, which is kind of a metaphor. It's kind of the moth to the flame kind of metaphor, where it's
Right.
like there's some kind of object of desire that is not good for you. So that can be a person,
Uh-huh.
which that's kind of where the metaphor goes with Halo Devil. It's about like a woman who appears one way, but is in fact another way. And that's like revealed in the lyrics, but that's just one of the metaphors that works with the Halo Devil thing. It could be anything with kind of a shiny surface that is attractive, that you go for, but
Right.
you maybe it's not the right thing to do. So they could be like patterns of behavior too, like addiction,
Right.
or it can, and like I said, it could be just toxic people in your
Right.
life. So it's kind of a broad metaphor.
You just mentioned that would be a cool song, "Moth to the Flame."
Yeah,
You know, I'm listening. I'm
yeah,
saying that's pretty cool.
yeah. It's kind of like a Metallica. There's a Metallica song from what is it? Hardwired to Self-Destruct, where
Right.
they
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember the title now. It might be called Moth into the Flame, or
Right.
Moth into Flame. I'm moth into the flame.
Yeah.
Dun,
It is.
dun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
cool.
great song.
Yeah. You know. Let's go to Fever.
Fever's like a straight up the middle, just like stomping mid. They're all kind of mid tempo songs. It's kind of like
Right.
somebody recently commented on one of the social media posts with a description of kind of like the EP
Right.
that I really liked. They said, "I love the laid back intensity of this record."
Right.
And I really liked that because it really kind of captures the vibe of the EP. It's like very intense kind of
Uh-huh.
throughout, but it's not fast. Like there's
Right. Yeah.
nothing in it that's like really fast. It's all really driving and kind of like mid-tempo stuff. Um, but I really like that description. But and Fever's no exception. It's like a steady, intense. It's got some really cool guitar work with the whammy. It's definitely a guitar record. It's a guitar band.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody brings a lot to the table, like instrument wise, but for this record especially, and kind of the way I've always written is
Right.
always it always starts on the guitar, and Fever, rips in with this wah pedal whammy bar thing, and then it just starts stomping through. People have kind of compared that one to like maybe an Audio Slave song
Uh-huh.
or a Soundgarden.
Right.
And I like that. I love that comparison because I love both those bands. Chris Cornell is like one of my all-time favorite singers. But that one lyrically is kind of about that feeling you get sometimes and you just had enough and you're
Right. Yeah.
just not gonna compromise
Mhm.
anymore and you're just gonna do whatever the you want to do.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of where that was coming from.
Cool. Cool. Is that how you come up with a title for a song? You just hear something that's interesting, and like you just
Yeah,
said, "Water the Flame." I heard you say that. I said that'd be cool, cool song. You know,
yeah.
and
It is kind of like that. And obviously there's a million and one ways to write a song. And I don't even, I was joking with the guys the other day, like I don't even know how to write songs. I've written probably over 100 songs now throughout my time as a songwriter, maybe even more than that. I have no idea. I've lost track of a lot of them, but and they don't always make it to records. It's
right,
like for every song that gets on a record, I probably wrote 25 or 30 that is
right,
on
yeah,
is a demo somewhere. But I was joking with him. It's like, I don't even really know what I'm doing. I just kind of like you play your guitar, you
right,
kind of like riff. If you have like a nice, rhythm that you think would make a good chorus,
right,
maybe,
right, yeah,
then you kind of listen to it and play, and then you kind of, for me, almost always it starts on the guitar, and then the next thing that comes is the primary vocal melody. And as a songwriter, you really always want to find, I mean, I'm always looking for that chorus. Like, what's the chorus? And then it's like
right,
that's central to the whole song. As a guitar player, it's not always the easiest to figure out what the chorus is because I could sit down and write, 30 riffs that kind of all
right,
go together. And then
uh-huh,
it's like a puzzle to figure out,
yeah,
how do they line up and which one's the chorus. Sometimes it's like you're not even sure that you have a chorus yet.
right, yeah, yeah,
And maybe the progression is good for a chorus, but for me, it's always like a mental battle to find a melody that is
right,
it's the right, it's like that hits, that's a great hook, or that's a great you know, sort of rhythmic timing for for the melody. But then it's a whole other game to figure out what are the lyrics.
right, yeah,
Because for me, it's melody is first. It's like, but they work hand in hand. Obviously, you could have a melody and think that's pretty cool, but then you find the right word, and
right,
it seals the deal, and you know that it's working. But how do you tell? I have no idea how that works. It's like some
right,
kind of magic. You just
uh-huh,
like let your mind wander, and something just things
right,
just
yeah,
come. And 9 times out of 10, it's not the right thing. It's not the first. It's not the first. It's not
right,
sometimes it is, but that's pretty rare, and you're really lucky if you have a writing session where it all just falls into place very quickly.
yeah.
Normally for me, uh, it's kind of like a struggle to get to the point where I'm happy with the arrangement and the lyrics and everything.
Well, a lot of bands go into the studio and like they're all set and stuff, and then all of a sudden they change it right in the studio.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, we do a lot. We do a lot of that stuff, and like I can only get so far on my own without the other guys. Like as a songwriter, I do a lot. I do a lot of the writing myself. But that only gets me to like an arrangement that I think is kind of somewhere close to where it needs to be going. And then it's time to get in the room
Right.
and share. And then it's almost like now it's like people are, all the guys will be bouncing ideas off each other. At first, you just kind of jam to it together and see what happens. And then
Yeah.
inevitably somebody does something that's like, oh, that's awesome. Sometimes that becomes a new motif where you're like, that's better than what was there before. And you have to like center in on that
Right.
and try to, and there's no telling how many, iterations of things might come to be. But then, and being in the studio is no exception. Like we do that same stuff too when you hit the studio and maybe something magical happens and you're like, wow, we gotta like feature that,
Yep. Yep.
heavily in the record. We just finished another record with our follow-up full-length
Right.
album with David Bottrill, which we don't have a release date scheduled for that yet, but I just got the final masters yesterday. So very excited about that too. And there was a lot of that too for that record. And
Right.
it works the other way too. Like you might think that you have it all figured out.
Right.
And then once you go in and track something and you listen to it back, there's something about it that's not quite right. What is it that's missing here? And then you kind of have to workshop it and figure out what you have to do to fix it,
Yep.
um, so to speak. Not that
Right.
there's any right way that I guess a
Right. Yeah.
song needs to be. You just have to kind of trust your instincts,
Uh-huh.
your listeners' instincts.
Cool. 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 Let's go to the last track, Coming for You.
Yeah. Yeah, coming for you. Yeah. I I love that one. I love them all, of course, but that one is we generally close our sets with that one because it's a really good closer. It's got a lot of intensity. And that guitar riff that starts at the beginning
Right.
with a tremolo, it features the really deep tremolo.
Mhm.
That's just really, really pulls you in, like I think as a listener, and that's how the whole song came to be. And a guy actually bought a Boss tremolo, just the blue one. What's it called? The tremolo TR2. I've got
Uh-huh.
my pedal board right behind me. Um, and because I never owned one before, but I've always
Right.
really liked that guitar effect. And
Right.
so I just I bought one at our local music store here in Bloomington and brought it home and just kind of played with it. And that's the first riff that came. It's funny how sometimes that's how songs come into being. You just get a new toy, a new pedal, or
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
or a new amp or whatever, and it's like the first thing that happens. You're like, wow, you
Yeah.
get really fixated on that, and that's what happened with Coming for You. It's got that really deep like whoa 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 whoa, and then there's also the wah pedal, so it sounds
Right. Yeah.
almost like an animal or something
Right.
that's
Yeah.
kind of like trying to
Mhm.
get out of a cage. And then of course, the chorus comes in and the it's just like a slam and riff rock,
Right. Yeah. Cool.
song. Very, very fun song to play. A lot of movements, there's like a lot of a cool kind of bridge, and then the outro is different too. So, um, yeah.
Cool. Cool. So, you said you got new material. Can you tell me anything about that?
I'll be making some more announcements about, we'll talk more about it on social media when we're ready to kind of reveal probably some clips from the record and things like that. What I will say is like it's kind of more of the same. Although I'll say that probably it's more aggressive, generally speaking. It's also longer. There's 8 tracks on it as opposed to 4. So it's
Right.
a proper full length album. And some of them are songs that we've been playing live from the beginning that we narrowed it down to 4 songs when we did
Right.
Fade to Blue, and
Mhm.
a couple of the ones that were in the running for maybe putting on that record
Right.
were saved for the second record. So there's a couple of them. Wild Honey is one of them, which for our fans that come to see us live, they'll know that is is one that we always play, which is a very Sabbathy kind of very riff oriented
Cool.
song. And then Humble Me is another one that's from that same body of work that early, from the very first shows, we've been playing both of those songs, but they just didn't make it onto the first record. Not because they weren't good enough. It's just we had to pick 4 that went
Right. Yeah.
together
Yeah.
as a body of work. So we were really eager to get those recorded and get those out as well.
Cool, cool. You have any merchandise where people
Yeah,
can buy stuff? Can you tell me
yeah,
anything?
absolutely. So there's really two main places right now to get our merch. Unless, shows, of course, like when we do play shows, we always have our merch set up there. But on bastionrose.com/shop, we have all our merch there. So we have CDs and we also have vinyls of Fade to Blue, which is really cool. That's like um one of the things I was probably the most proud of or excited about is just having the record cut to vinyl. And as a matter of fact, I'm a big audiophile. I love vinyl records. Like I have a cool kind of stereo setup at home, and I have a growing vinyl collection. And I was from the very beginning of kind of getting into vinyl, I was like,
Right,
man, it would be so cool to have a record, that I made with
right,
the
yeah,
band cut to vinyl. And but at the time, really not that long ago, it was like not really possible for an independent or small artist
yeah,
like on a small label to even get their record cut to vinyl because so many of the vinyl presses globally had been decommissioned because the vinyl market just like disappeared
yeah.
with the advent of tapes and then CDs and then streaming.
Mhm.
And then obviously we all know like suddenly in the last five to 10 years, the vinyl market has just like
Yeah.
blown up.
Mhm.
So, it's one of the only mediums, that's, seeing a lot of growth like in the
Right,
market, which is like really exciting because everybody knows it's in music. It's like music is hard to make any kind of money in, and
right.
you spend so much more time and effort and money. Like it's not cheap to make
Yeah,
really great sounding records.
right,
Like
yeah,
I know, there's certain types of music I think that are easier to make at home, like on your laptop. You always hear,
right.
oh, anybody can make a record now that sounds like $1 million studio. And to some extent, I think that that's true. But I think that there's some serious limitations to that. And when you're trying to make records with real instruments, like with real guitar amps and real drums, and you're miking stuff up, and the sound of the room matters, like the old school way of doing it. Um, it's not cheap at all to make that happen. And it's not easy at all. You have to have really skilled people. And we have an excellent team behind us that help to make these records. So we've got David Bottrill, of course, who
Right,
produced both of these records, and he's the three-time Grammy award-winning producer that,
right.
he produced Lateralis and Anima, both
Uh,
those Tool records.
right, yeah,
He produced Godsmack Faceless that has like I Stand Alone and all those
mhm.
big
Yeah,
hits
yeah,
on and he's produced Macedon, Peter Gabriel, Coheed and Cambria, the name of that record, the one that has Welcome Home on it. It was
right.
their biggest record.
Mhm.
Good Apollo, I'm Burning Star 4, Volume 1 From Fear Through the Eyes of Madness. I think that's the name of it.
Cool, cool,
They
cool.
have funny record names, but then we have a great mastering engineer too, Mauer Applebaum, and then our engineer is local, and his name's Nico Albanese, and he does a lot of different types of people's records, and he's extremely talented. So there's like a lot of highly skilled professionals, and there's a really nice studio here that we use,
Right,
and so that none of that stuff is free,
right,
and
yeah,
at the end of the day for you to be able to it's like difficult kind of to sell music
right,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
free, all our stuff's on Spotify, all our stuff's on YouTube. You want it to sound as good as you can possibly get it to sound as an artist, but
right,
at the end of the day it can't really be about money,
right, yeah,
or
yep,
you'll burn out and be disappointed. It's fun when people buy the vinyls and it's fun when people buy the CDs, but I get a lot more satisfaction knowing that someone wants it and loves it than getting the, $40 for the vinyl or whatever. Yeah, not that it doesn't help because it really does like a lot to offset the cost of all that stuff. Um, and promotion too.
yeah,
It's not cheap to promote.
yeah,
All the things that you do to try to get the music out there for people to actually hear it.
right,
Um, so yeah, getting it cut to vinyl was a big dream come true. And it's exciting that so many bands and so many artists are kind of investing in that now, having vinyl, and that as a market is kind of coming back and people care about it again.
Cool, cool. What's your feeling about all these like the vinyl that's coming out? They're making like different colors and
Oh, I
everything.
love it.
Like
I love it.
this morning I was on Facebook and I see a Bon Jovi album that just came out. It's clear and it got liquid inside. So when
Yeah, yeah.
you saw that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, I saw
that's
that.
really cool. That's that kind of stuff is super expensive to make. And
Yeah,
Bon Jovi, of course, has got the money
yeah,
to make stuff like that. But I'd love to put some kind of novelty, like
right,
limited thing together someday. Maybe someday is all,
right.
what I'll say to that.
Cool, cool. Definitely cool. I know Ace Frehley, he put like about 10 different colored vinyls, but he did it smart. Like he numbered them. And so he'll start off with, say, a red one, 500. And then he went to a blue one, 400. And then he went to the all the way down to 50. So, like, if you're
Yeah,
a big Ace Frehley fan, you might buy them all. So,
totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, it's a collectible.
yeah, definitely, definitely. So, what's the future plans?
Yeah, so we're gonna be making more videos and releasing those for all the songs, probably. That's the plan of the new record. And the next big announcement we'll be making is the release of the album, and that will come out this year for sure.
Cool.
And then we already have a whole body of work ready to hit the studio again. We are definitely writer, recorder,
Right.
musicians. Like it's like we want to make music and we want to release music. We just want to keep going. People are always like, "Why aren't you playing more shows?" It's like,
Right.
well, I love playing live. We all love to play live, and we do have some stuff in the works,
Right.
which we'll make some announcements about. There's some um, possible tour information forthcoming, but nothing is solidified yet. So
Right.
I don't care to,
Yeah.
share some maybes with you. It's like if it doesn't
Yeah.
happen, it's just a bummer. But
Yeah.
there's like a handful of really important, cool things that are kind of on the horizon that we'll be making announcements about on social media. So follow us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. YouTube is really, I think, our big one.
Right.
That's where all our long form music videos are, and that's grown a lot. I mean, our social media has grown so much in the last year after the release of this record. I think we have like closing in on 12,000 subscribers on
Wow.
YouTube, and
Yeah.
same on Facebook. And it's just like, damn, we only had we didn't even have social media like
Right.
just over a year ago. So that's a pretty new band. So this has all been super exciting.
Cool. Cool. Well, Austin, it was great chatting with you.
Yeah, you too, man.
Bastion Rose, pick up the EP Fade to Blue. Amazing. Watch the videos, support the band, and congratulations once again. Would you like to say anything to the fans out there?
Yeah, I'd say for anybody that's listening that hasn't listened to Bastion Rose yet, would love you to go check it out. I hope it's something that you enjoy. It definitely comes from the heart. Got a lot of good musicians behind it. All the guys in the band just pour their everything into it. And for those that have already, listened and followed and have like become part of this thing, I would say just thank you so much. It means everything to kind of see what this Bastion Rose is becoming.
Cool. Cool. Thanks a lot, Austin.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Bye bye.
See ya.